Okay, and we have sound.
That's it.
We're running behind. Push buttons.
And good morning.
Yes.
Lieutenant Atombaum says there was goo.
No. Yeah. There we go.
So let's see. Oh, Crackshot, you asked no video. I think you were referring to the that opening bit there where it just shows the thumbnail. There's actually a reason that I do that beyond just. There's a couple reasons. So one, we start with the thumbnail because countdowns, well, they're a pain in the ass to synchronize, and
Not if you start on time.
and it gives us a minute for everybody to kind of get in the chat and get their mouths running before we even run the intro. And then the other piece of it is on basically every platform, every social media platform, everywhere that we publish this show, with the exception of YouTube and Rumble, the thumbnail is generated automatically from the first like 10 seconds of the video. So I designed the thumbnail for YouTube, and then we start the show showing the thumbnail, and then that's the thing that gets grabbed to be made into the thumbnail for Facebook and Twitter and all those other places. So that's a mechanical thing. Dan says he has a newfound dislike for Liz Cheney. Yeah. So the title of this episode is, in fact, the old bait and switch, and that's what we're going to do to you. But I want to start by mentioning the elephant in the room, or rather, perhaps, the jackass. The Democrats have started this prime time show trial, and what blows my mind is they're actually calling it. They are actually referring to it as a prime time show trial. Like, yep.
Yeah. Okay. I see
No self-awareness.
or they have tons of self-awareness. So good morning to Danny, by the way, from Polytech.
Yeah, y'all did a hell of a good job last night, by the way.
I listened to a good bit of it last night, and then flipped over to Polytech and was like, I'm just going to have to catch the ass end of this later. Of course, it appeared to be ass end from the beginning, honestly. Like, I mean, seriously, when the committee chair from Mississippi started out explaining that the language used to justify what happened on January 6th reminds me of the language used to justify the lynchings from my home state. Oh my God, like really? Like really? And as you pointed out...
He opens with the race card.
Yeah, he opens, and as you pointed out, that can't possibly be true because he's talking about Republicans, not Democrats.
Correct.
Democrats were in the KKK,
and,
not Republicans.
I'm going to set these over here to make sure you can hear. Let's talk about where the racism is on the gun control issue.
Reason that we all sit up
an AR-15.
No, let me tell you. Okay, let me give you a story. There's a man in Connecticut that watched his neighbor have a home invasion and watched their whole family get killed. He built his own AR-15 because Connecticut won't let you buy them, but you can abide by rules that allow you to build them. And then he has one in his house to protect his family because he never wants to see that happen again. He is a black man. It's odd. Most AR-15 owners are former military, 35 plus and married.
One more thing.
So that's all I'm saying is that they're not these crazy people.
Okay. Here's the thing. Once black people get guns in this country, the gun laws will change. Trust me.
You know, Ann Coulter wrote a book called Guilty, in which she lays out that basically everything that the left accuses you of, they accuse you of because they're guilty of it. Psychologists call this projection.
Right. And real quick, I want to give a shout out there to Colin Noir because I stole the clip from his video basically because I couldn't. The View obviously isn't releasing a version of that clip. They're trying to hide it. So, trying to find it quickly this morning, all I could find were other people that were sharing the original, and so, thanks Majid. That's handy.
So look, just because yes, we're going to go back to Firearms Friday and all that, but obviously it needs to be touched. We're going to go back and we are going to go through this shit show of a thing. And apparently there's going to be like 5 more of them all in prime time. Like,
yeah,
oh my God. Like, I thought Obi-Wan Kenobi was bad. I'd rather watch that twice than this shit here.
Right.
Like,
and we're not going to cover this. We're not going to cover this thing in deep depth because, quite frankly, that's 20 hours that I just don't have. And what's really frustrating about it, they hired an entertainment producer to produce this thing. And like Alex pointed out last night on the TPS report, it does look better than your average Senate hearing. There are dedicated cameras for each speaker, so you don't get the thing where you've got the camera swung over to Poopy Pants Nadler, and you're seeing the name tag for the guy next to it. But they're all sitting there reading from a teleprompter, and they're reading from the teleprompter like this, and Liz Cheney talking like this, like I couldn't take it.
I've heard Cheney off prompter, and she's actually really sharp off prompter. And look, I don't have to like her to appreciate the fact that she can speak off the cuff very well. But God, everything about it, the way that it was so scripted, and apparently like there's this big whole sophisticated 7-step plan that Donald Trump had that somehow involves the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boy. You know what I'm reminded of? I am reminded of somehow Jeff Sessions' meeting with a Russian ambassador. It was totally proof that Donald Trump stole the election with Russia. That's what I'm reminded of. Okay? It just so yeah, look, we're gonna go into it, and depending on what comes out of this, we might go into it in depth. And look, to be fair, if they have a smoking gun, I want to see it. But I really feel like
to be fair, if they had a smoking gun, we'd have seen it.
Well, and that's where I was going with it. I said, look, but if they had a smoking gun, they wouldn't need 6 sessions to craft this narrative. Like, I wonder how many people did what I did. Like, they tried to watch it and then got some minutes into it and then just went, fuck, I'd rather watch paint dry.
Right. And then the one lie that caught me out of Liz Cheney's mouth last night that just I've heard it before and it's staggering. And I want to say something about that, and then I want to move on to we're going to talk about the House passing red flag laws or a bill. But anyway, Liz Cheney, one of the claims that she made is that Donald Trump lost 60 court cases over the election results. That she's not incorrect. She's lying. She hasn't committed an error. She's lying.
Yeah,
Of the 60 cases that were filed, the vast majority of them were dismissed on procedural grounds or on bizarre claims that they individually would be insufficient to prove anything. And never mind the fact that if any number of them taken together could have made the difference is being ignored outright. The fact of the matter is they were never adjudicated. So Ben Shapiro will say nothing happened. It's absolutely the truth that the election was not stolen. And then there are other people like the MyPillow guy, Michael Lindell, that will say we absolutely know that the election was stolen in 2020. Let me tell you what the truth of the matter is on that particular point. Neither of them is making a credible claim. Nobody actually can say, with the exception in the hypothetical possibility that the election was stolen, which I'm not saying it was, if that is the case, then only the people that committed that crime know for sure whether or not the crime was committed. Anybody who says otherwise, that they know it, like if you say I know it in my bones, I feel it, okay, that's a subjective interpretation. That's one thing. But to make the statement that it has been categorically, factually proved, either way, is a false claim, and the data do not support that claim. Whether you're saying it was stolen or wasn't stolen, you do not have grounds to stand on. You are making a false claim because it has gone unadjudicated.
Hey, watch this. I can transition us.
Oh, by the way, we're still on Rumble.
Yeah. Well, but seriously, I can transition us. They said in this show trial last night that this is just one of the darkest days in American history. And I'm sure that it was totally darker than like Pearl Harbor or when Lincoln moved troops into South Carolina. I'm sure that it was darker than what happened in Uvalde a few days ago. There's your transition.
And let me just, they're going to tell you that the January 6th situation was the most violent, terrible, awful. Okay, no. The only people who died on January 6th were an American wartime veteran who was murdered by a black cop who gets to be celebrated for murdering an American wartime veteran because he's black, and the wartime veteran happened to not be a Democrat.
It would have been a nice segue, Dave, but
and I know, but Stryker, I'm gonna have, I want to hit you there. Stryker says 2,000 mules proved it via geofencing. No, 2,000 mules offers compelling evidence that there is something worth investigating. It does not prove anything categorically. It does offer a high degree of reasonable suspicion. I think Alex is watching. Alex and I have been back and forth on this a little bit. What 2,000 Mules does offer is evidence. That is not the same as saying that it is evidence sufficient to prove a claim. It is evidence sufficient to prove a reasonable suspicion there.
Yeah. Crackshot says, yeah, it was worse than Noah's flood. That's fantastic.
And that's how it would have been spun too. Noah did the flood. It was his fault.
Columbo would definitely be bothered.
Yes.
Okay, all right. But seriously, we got to...
Okay, so...
There's the story that Patrick sent us, too, that's important. Uh-oh.
You want to do this real quick?
Yeah, we should do this real quick.
We'll do this real quick, and then I'll go find the other thing.
Yes. This was, by the way, people like Dave, and this one happens to come from Krista, but as you find things that are funny or fantastic memes or whatever, please send them to us. We love them. You're supposed to be finding a thing, not fighting with Alex.
Okay. Well, I have to close this to find the thing.
Awesome. Yes. No one actually had 56 friends commit suicide. Somebody says in reply to, no one actually needs an AR-15.
This one?
Pretty sure, yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, good guy with a gun. Again, alright. I'm sure it was worse than what happened to Uvalde. Segue, take 2. Paul Blart Mall Cop.
So what happened to Uvalde is the police failed to do their job. And interestingly, I would like to point out that the Supreme Court has been very clear that the police are not responsible for your life. If you die in a situation like Uvalde, where it's clear that at least some of the blame for your wrongful death is laid at the feet of the cowards who stood in the hallway and listened to the children being slaughtered without taking action because they aren't men. At least some of the blame, some of the fault for that, one might think would fall on those police officers who claim to have a duty to serve and protect. But the Supreme Court in Gonzalez versus Castle Rock has been very, very clear that there is no such duty to protect. The police do not even have a duty to interfere. An officer watching you get raped and murdered on the street is not required by law or duty to interfere. He is only required after the fact to arrest the criminal and bring him to prosecution. But nothing in the law compels him to prevent you from suffering the harm caused by crime. Gonzalez Castle Rock is the one that always comes to mind first, because the result of the police failure there was a woman who had a protective order against a violent inebriate of an ex-husband. She and her several children were murdered by him, despite her repeated calls for help that the police in that situation ignored. And then when there was a wrongful death suit filed in the case, the Supreme Court said they have no duty to protect.
Hey, wait a minute. Well, look, Castle Rock. Put a button on that because we got to come back to it because it'll bring us back over. No, don't make this thing go away. Just to be clear, good guy with a gun stopped a mass shooting at a school.
Yes.
Like, that's...
Yeah, the fact that they have no duty under the law to do the job that we think that they're supposed to do doesn't mean that there aren't a handful of good cops. But I got to tell you, the evidence that we're seeing of late, the anecdotal evidence that we're seeing of late, and yes, multiple... The plural of evidence is... The plural of anecdote is data. Multiple anecdotes do establish patterns. Right? But there are still good cops. I just suspect that the balance from the left to right on that has shifted in an unsavory direction.
Yeah. We're running short on time, and we need to keep moving. I wanted to dig into the article, but look, just forget the cop thing for a second. I just really want to hammer this point home. More guns at a school stopped a bad thing from happening at a school. Forget who had the gun for a second. Somebody with half a nutsack had a gun. That's what you need.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, let's just be clear. Maybe we'll go back and address some of the memes, but no. The Castle Rock case. You're telling me that this woman had red flagged her ex and it didn't help?
Correct.
Oh. Boy, that's weird. That's your opportunity for a segue again, my friend. I don't normally have all these come so naturally. You should take advantage of them while they're there.
So, House passes gun control bill after Buffalo Uvalde attacks. And to be clear, when I say that I think the shift from good cop to bad cop is going in the wrong direction, I don't necessarily mean that there are more corrupt cops than there are good, honorable cops. I mean, there are more weak, coward cops than there are good, honorable cops. And y'all got to take that coming from me in a certain way, because I've been pretty clear on this show. I don't have a very high opinion of police officers. They raise their hand to swear an oath to the Constitution, and then instead of engaging the enemy in close combat to destroy the enemy of the United States, they hung around to write parking tickets. And that just, that level of weakness doesn't sit well with me. And that's what I see every time I see a badge.
Can I read?
Please do.
I like to read.
I'm going to spin it up for you a little bit.
So, okay.
So they can read too.
I was about to say, you don't need to spin it up for me. It's already huge.
Right, yeah.
The House passed a wide-ranging gun control bill Wednesday in response to recent mass shootings in Buffalo, New York, and Uvalde, Texas. That would raise the age limit for purchasing a semi-automatic rifle and prohibit the sale of ammunition magazines with a capacity of more than 15 rounds. The legislation, by mostly party line vote of 223 to 204, the legislation passed by mostly a party line vote. It has almost no chance of becoming law as the Senate pursues negotiations focused on improving mental health programs, bolstering school security, and enhancing background checks. But the House bill does allow Democratic lawmakers a chance to frame for voters in November where they stand on policies that polls show are widely supported. We can't save every life, but my God, shouldn't we try? America, we hear you today in the House, and we are taking action you are demanding, said Representative Veronica Escobar of Texas. Take note of who is with you and who is not.
Okay, I want to take a moment to agree with Representative Veronica Escobar, Democrat from Texas. She says, we can't save every life, but my God, shouldn't we try? Yes! Yes, you should try. You kick in the fucking door and you start shooting the guy that's murdering the children. You sprout a sack and you do the fucking job that you've been pretending to do, you sorry sack of horse shit. Absolutely you should try to save the life. Don't stand there and listen to them be murdered. And then this final point, take note of who is with you and who is not. Absolutely. Take fucking note. We're walking into a red tsunami. That needs to be an absolute massacre at the ballot box. If there is a Democrat left in power, other than Joe Biden, who's not on the ticket, if there's one on the ballot who retains power after this upcoming November election, you have surrendered your country, your lives, and your sacred liberty. That's on you. Unfuck yourselves. Sorry. You okay?
What? I mean, your point was well taken, but dude...
Sorry.
Dude, we run a show.
Sorry, headphone users.
People watch this on their phones and usually on their Bluetooths, which are usually like inserted to cancel out all the noise from the outside world.
You're correct. We offer a total sensory experience here at the Brushfire Mind.
So that scream, while it was pumped directly into one of my ears, we have viewers where it was pumped directly into both of theirs. Okay, all right. Anyhow. Wow. Well, I was actually going to make a similar comment, though. Yes, you should try and save every life that you can. That's why you don't stand outside and listen to the children get murdered. Also, all of this about who's with you and blah, 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 this is they do the same thing with abortion. They say, well, do you want all abortions to become illegal? Most people tell you no. But then when you ask more detailed questions like, well, do you support like a 20-week limit on abortions and stuff like that? Then people go, well, yeah, I support a 20-week limit on abortions. So when they say, okay, well, do you support reasonable gun control? Most people are going to say yes. But then when you drill down and you start asking them about specific policies, they're like, well, I don't know if it's okay to just take guns away from somebody before they commit a crime. Like, because that's what they're talking about with red flag laws. No, it's totally pre-crime.
Yeah.
Like, don't get spooked out by that. Like, it's Disney Plus didn't just make a whole series called Moon Knight about like pre-crime is bad. No, don't get spooked out by that, right? Okay, and then so when they say take note of who's with you, Hey, Representative Escobar, we already have. Why do you think you guys are going to lose? I promise, okay? I have multiple jobs, and they all require me to drive a lot. And when I see gas climb 20 cents in 48 hours,
Yeah.
I take note of who's with me.
Yeah, I may have noticed that my own self.
When it costs me $70 to fill up my little 4-door sedan, and it's not even on E, I take note of that. Like, dude, the apartment that I had up until recently, in July, when it was hot as balls, and I was running my AC all the time. Now, granted, it was a small apartment, but my power bill was $160. At $70 a tank, a couple of tanks a week, minimum. Now, you see where I'm going with
Yep.
this, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
that would pay my power bill. So, anyhow, the push comes after a House committee heard wrenching testimony from recent shooting victims and family members, including from 11-year-old girl Mia Cirillo, who covered herself with a dead classmate's blood to avoid being shot at the Uvalde Elementary School. While that is absolutely awful, and that is nightmare fuel, and absolutely should be nightmare fuel, let's be really, really clear. I've said this before. The only way you can manipulate somebody is through emotion. And having an 11-year-old girl relive her PTSD just a couple of weeks out from the incident
In a public hearing?
in a public hearing, like, that is emotional manipulation. I'm not even saying it's wrong or evil or whatever. I'm just pointing out that they're pushing your emotion button, and they're pushing it hard.
And Sergeant Major says, and I agree, having the child who was present at the shooting testify is child abuse. But, Dad, I mean, we can't pretend to be surprised. Child abuse is what Democrats do.
Well, no, they don't.
You're talking about the party of genital mutilation. You're talking about the party that cosmetically removes healthy breasts from healthy young women. You're talking about the party that is attempting to assassinate Supreme Court judges over the refusal of the Supreme Court to continue with the psychopathy that is infanticide codified by Roe v. Wade. Child abuse is what these people are.
The seemingly never-ending cycle of mass shootings in the United States has rarely stirred Congress to act. But the shooting of 19 children and 2 teachers in Uvalde has revived efforts in a way that has lawmakers from both parties talking about the need to respond. It's sickening that our children are forced to live in this constant fear, said House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Pelosi said that the House vote would make history by making progress, but it's unclear where the House measure will go after Wednesday's vote, given that Republicans were adamant in their opposition. Okay, remember when I said when all this happened, I predicted that you're not going to get any gun control because they don't want you to get gun control. They want to be able to continue to run on the issue. I guarantee you there's a version of red flags that they could have passed, that they could have found enough Mitt Romneys in the Senate to go along with, to have, look, I'll use the word politely and say strengthened gun control.
Fortified, perhaps?
Yeah, there you go. They could have fortified gun control. They could have done this. And instead, they chose to pass a bill that they knew would never make it through the Senate. That's weird. It's almost like they did that on purpose because they want to be able to run on it. Because, God forbid, when you go to the polls, you remember the fact that gas that costs you $70 to put 3/4 of a tank in your car and help you if you drive a truck or anything larger.
Yep.
Like,
Put $100 in my F-150 yesterday.
Man, and I've said this before, but dude, you remember when giving somebody $5 or $10 a week in gas money was generous?
Yeah.
Remember that? Wow. My first car was a Ford Taurus. If I let the sucker get all the way to the dummy light popping on, I could just squeeze $10 into it. I miss those days. God, I miss those days. Okay. But no. they think what will work on you. Let me put it that way. They think what will work on you is that if they slap you over the face with this deeply emotional and deeply disturbing stuff, you'll forget about the fact that you couldn't afford to drive to Kroger, you rolled pennies to drive to Kroger, and you got to Kroger, and there was not enough baby formula at Kroger for you to feed your baby. And so you decided you were there, you might as well go ahead and pick up...
Kroger shit on your puppy?
I'm just using Kroger as an example. And then while you were at Kroger, you figured, well, I'm here, gas is already expensive enough, might as well go ahead and get bread and milk. And oh my God, milk is $5 a gallon for the Kroger brand. That's what they don't want you to remember. They want you to remember the January 6th and the Uvalde shooting and all that. Like... There are some real simple solutions. We've talked about it before, like maglocks. This county already has the schools maglocked.
Yep.
And it's an incredibly effective system. All the doors are exits.
Yep.
Anybody can leave whenever they want. But you can only go in and out through certain doors, and each one of those doors, they have to buzz you in and out. Like, it's not hard. Boop, I'm here with a delivery. Okay, come in through this door. And then the door that they have you walk into the office, has another maglock door. So even if you lied and said, okay, I'm here to drop off donuts for the school, and it turns out you were a psycho and you were going to murder a bunch of people, you'd never get past the office because it's maglocked, right? And that's without even getting into allowing teachers to arm themselves. And allowing guys like Chris to spend volunteer shifts just sitting out front, like, chain smoking, cleaning a rifle. You sure you want some of this, son? No, as a matter of fact, I'm not so sure. I'm a deodorant commercial from the 90s. I am unsure.
There's another side of the maglock thing. It's kind of like the whole anti-bullying campaign. I weep for our children that will not experience a high school where they sneak out to their cars to skip a couple of classes and go get a proper lunch. I used to skip class almost every day. Well, lunch. I'd leave just before lunch at Heritage. I'd leave just before lunch. I'd go get lunch somewhere because the food sucked. And then I wanted to get a smoke. And I'd come back.
Yeah, well, to be fair, though, the food at Heritage only costs like 90 cents a tray, so...
Like I said.
It sucked. Dave Bowen says, nowadays squeezing $5 from Pump 3 won't even get you to Pump 4. And Jeff Goldblum's silent fart finds a way. And then Steve says, yeah, I have a strong feeling, even with this push, that the public is fed up with Dems. Folks are switching party registrations by the thousands nationally.
That's something we're going to cover in more detail probably next week, but we'll be talking about it more and more as we get closer and closer to this absolute crimson tsunami that feels like it's welling up on the horizon there. Now, it is we're over. We're well over. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. It is Friday. We're going into the weekend. It is Friday, isn't it? Yes, it is. We're going into the weekend.
We did a firearms segment.
We did a firearms. We did. I'd like to do some more firearms.
JDF asks if we have a podcast. No, we have full-time jobs.
That's a thing we should do, and it's a thing that we've discussed in the past.
You want to manage it for us?
Yeah. So, safety brief. As you go out there, Steve Rodemeyer likes to say, keep calm and carry one. Go strapped. Wear your gun. Right? You cannot be properly armed part-time. Because that one time that you don't put your seatbelt on will be the time that you find yourself going through the windshield. Same thing with bank robberies, liquor store robberies. You mean
the one time I left my umbrella at home?
The one time you left your umbrella at home.
The one time I didn't wear a condom.
Exactly.
Okay.
The one time you forgot your wallet with a spare key in it. Right? Go about girded as if this will be the time that you need to be. gird yourselves against the possibility that evil seeks to cause you harm at every opportunity, because it does.
Yeah, it's the thief comes in the night. Like, just, it is what it is. And
So,
and start thinking about when we control everything again, and we will. Repeal all federal gun laws. I think we're there. I
Yes.
really do. I think we're there. You mean all federal? Yeah, I mean all of them.
and it's one thing that we win back majority control of the House and Senate, and then of course replace the president in 2024 with a conservative.
You mean replace Madam President?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm
But-
going to stop. We're over. Finish. Close us out.
But winning these elections will not be sufficient, because we have seen the quality of the Republicans that we have. The best we can hope for the Republicans that we have currently is that they will be a roadblock to the psychopathy and the tyranny of the constant march toward totalitarian communist dictatorship, which is the stated objective of the Democrat Party. The best we can hope is that they slow things down. Going forward, it is of paramount importance that we put more and more pressure on our conservative representatives to repeal gun laws, to repeal as many law. I challenge you to point to a law that not only will I say absolutely we would repeal that, but I'll give you a good argument for the repeal of any given law. It's not sufficient to adjust them where they're inadequate, because the inadequacy is built into the laws themselves. So I challenge you to point to a law that I will not outright say, no, abolish it, eliminate it.
Hey, JDF is asking a question. I'm just going to make this easy. Oh, I thought that would work. Dadgummit. I thought I was being clipped. Maybe I forget it even. Oh. Nope, I guess not. Look.
Hashtag Lowry. That'll take care of you, JDF, and we'll put that toward cameras and coffee, because that's basically what we need.
Right.
Y'all
Fair
be
enough.
safe out there. We love you, and we will see you on Monday.
Me more Monday.
Not tomorrow. So, yeah, be safe, guys.